Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the pleasure of welcoming our second address, and it is none other than the custodian of African Aviation Excellence, the Secretary General of the African Airlines Association. Under his visionary leadership, AFRAA has continued to be the unifying voice for African carriers, championing connectivity, sustainability, as well as growth across our continent. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me give a very warm South African welcome to Mr. Abderahmane Berthe, the Secretary General of AFRAA.
Oh, thank you for playing the music from my country. I'm very happy about that. Honorable Barbara Creasy, MP, Minister of Transport of the Republic of South Africa, Ms. Sedzani Mudau, Chairperson of South African Airways, Mr. Marcella Sechibe, Acting Chief Executive Officer of South African Airways, Captain George Kamal, Acting Chief Executive Officer of Kenya Airways and Chairman of the AFRAA Executive Committee, Mr. Kamil Al-Awadi, IATA Regional Vice President for Africa and the Middle East, Chief Executive Officers, Captains of the Industry, representatives of government and civil aviation authorities, partners, sponsors, and exhibitors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 14th Aviation Stakeholders Convention here in Johannesburg, South Africa. At the outset, allow me to express our sincere appreciation to our host, South African Airways, for the excellent collaboration and warm hospitality extended to all delegates. Allow me to express AFRAA's sincere gratitude to our guest of honor, Honorable Minister of Transport, for gracing this opening ceremony with your presence. This convention has become one of the most important annual gatherings for Africa's aviation ecosystem. It brings together airlines, regulators, OEMs, service providers, and technology companies with a shared objective: to build a stronger, more resilient, and more profitable African aviation industry. This year's theme, Resilient African Aviation, Partnerships, Empowerment, Profitability, is timely. Each pillar of our theme represents a deliberate strategic choice. Resilience. African aviation continues to operate in a highly complex and uncertain global environment. Geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruptions, currency pressures, rising operating costs, infrastructure gaps, environmental obligations, and aircraft availability constraints are placing unprecedented pressure on airlines. Despite these challenges, Africa remains one of the world's most promising regions for aviation growth. Resilience means having the organizational depth, financial buffers, network flexibility, and institutional partnership to absorb these shocks and continue serving our customers. Partnership. This convention is also about practical collaboration. The B2B meetings, networking sessions, master classes, and committee engagement are essential opportunities to create partnership, exchange expertise, and identify actionable business opportunities across the continent. The fragmentation of African aviation across 54 states, multiple regulatory frameworks, and hundreds of restrictive bilateral air service agreements means that collaboration among stakeholders is not optional, it is existential. Empowerment. Empowerment means African governments are treating aviation not as a tax base, but as an economic multiplier. African aviation professionals, pilots, engineers, safety managers, and commercial managers are being developed, recognized, and retained across the continent. We cannot build a resilient aviation industry on talent we train only to lose to other regions. Profitability. Profitability is the foundation of any business. Without it, airlines cannot invest in safety, human resources, and new fleets, nor can they survive a crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, our continent has the youngest population globally, rapidly growing urban centers, expanding middle classes, increasing regional integration under the African Continental Free Trade Area, and untapped potential across tourism, trade, cargo, and connectivity. The question is no longer whether Africa will grow, but whether African aviation will be sufficiently prepared and positioned to capture that growth sustainably and remain competitive. AFRAA remains fully committed to supporting African airlines and aviation stakeholders. We firmly believe that no single organization can transform African aviation alone. The future of our industry will depend on stronger collaboration among government, airlines, airports, air navigation service providers, financial institutions, and technology partners. African aviation has weathered pandemics, financial crises, fuel shocks, and geopolitical disruptions thanks to the resilience of the organizations we represent in this room. But survival is not the ambition. The ambition is to build an African aviation industry that connects this continent affordably and safely. That ambition requires partnership, built on mutual commitment and trust and empowerment, and it requires profitability. I thank our sponsors, exhibitors, partners, and industry associations represented here. A convention is only as strong as the quality of its conversations. I thank our speakers, panelists, masterclass facilitators, and moderators for sharing their expertise and time. Ladies and gentlemen, as we open the 40th Aviation Stakeholders Convention, I encourage all participants to engage openly, think strategically, and use this opportunity to shape practical solutions for the future of African aviation. Together, we can build an aviation sector that is more connected, more competitive, more resilient, and more profitable for Africa. I wish you productive discussions and a successful convention. Thank you very much.